Okay, now the spine line, which is also called the headline, reveals the health of your spine. It'll show if you have problems with vertebrae or discs in your back. It will show if they are subluxated. And what this means is they're turned out of place or they could be damaged, or you could have a condition such as scoliosis or a twisting of the spine. It starts right there between the thumb and index finger, or the Jupiter finger, and travels across the palm just under the Mercury finger. Now pull up your spine chart. It's called the Chart of Effects of Spinal Misalignment, and that section underneath the index finger, if you're on your spine line underneath the Jupiter finger, that represents your cervical spine, kind of that neck area, that 1C to 7C, and it goes down to what's called the Dowager's Hump. This is the hump that you see in older folks when they're walking around and they're kind of bent over there at the neck, just under the bottom of the neck and the top of the back. That's where your cervical spine is. Then the area just underneath that Saturn or that middle finger is your thoracic spine. This is your 1T down to your 12T. That's the back that goes all the way down to your waist. Then there's that area underneath the sun finger or the ring finger, and that's your lumbar area. This is 1L to 5L. This is kind of your waist and your hips. Then of course you go down to your sacrum and your coccyx to the tailbone, which is underneath that little or that Mercury finger. Let me tell you a little bit about Kat has a master's degree in health education. When she was going to college, she was developing her craft in hand analysis, and she came across a book from a longtime doctor, Dr. Eugene Scheinman. And he talked about how your spinal health absolutely shows in your hands. And working with Kat over the years, it's proven to be very real and accurate. And I always get a little chuckle when I hear back on some of the past clients that have taken their charts to their chiropractor or their physical therapist and having an evaluation, and the medical care provider was amazed how spot on the charts were. Okay, let's look at your chart. If you look over there on the left-hand side of your chart, you'll see an image of a spine, and we're going to start right at the very top of that image. You can see where that 1C down to the 7C is circled, actually all the way through that whole cervical spine, that whole neck area. Then the 1 and 2T, that first thoracic, we've got circled there. And this indicates maybe that's turned out of place or misaligned. You didn't say if you had any damage to that spine or not. And then that 5T down to the 9T, that's kind of right there between your shoulder blades and down. And then the 12T down to the 2L, that lumbar region, looks like you're turned out of place there. And if you look over to the areas column to the right, that'll show you the parts of the body that are affected when you've got some issues in that spine. And then if you look at the effects column all the way to the right, that'll show you the symptoms you can have when those vertebrae are out of place. And we talked a little bit about that heart line, where we'd seen a little bit of stress on that. Well, when that 2T is out of place, that can really make that heart work just a little bit harder than it needs to, and lead to a little bit of chronic fatigue, some anxiety. And then what we had seen that dip on that headline, which indicated a little bit of depression. Well, when that 1C is out of place, that can lead to depression, a little bit of anxiety, especially where you've got that 1C and that 7C and 2T out of place. That really exacerbates anxiety, kind of gets that going. So I'll tell you when we see this, what we usually suggest is to get into a good chiropractor or even a physical therapist is even better, and get that spine realigned, get that energy flowing correctly down through that spine, and especially where you have that 1 and 2C out. Try to find somebody that knows cranial sacral work, and what they'll do is they'll go into the roof of the mouth and they'll adjust those little plates, because they do move around a little bit, and that's why all your nerve endings come off that 1 and 2C vertebrae. And that gives them a little better access to adjust those 1 and 2C vertebrae also. We find a lot of times that when people get those realigned, that they just have a lot more energy, a lot more ambition, and they just feel a lot better during the day. So that's something to consider. And I've seen many of Kat's clients and people she's done readings for, they'll take these charts down and show it to their doctors, and it's kind of a funny story how people will come back and their doctors are just amazed how accurate these spine charts are. Now you also have a health line that correlates with the head and spine line, and this line represents your general health. It starts at the bottom kind of center of the palm, and it rises up towards that Mercury or that little finger, and it stops at the head and spine line. And it should be a nice straight line without breaks or islands. This shows the health of your gut, like your stomach, your intestines, gallbladder, and the internal organs, and really more specifically your digestive system. If that line looks healthy, your general health is usually pretty good. Now as we take a look at your health line actually goes up pretty good towards that Mercury finger. You've got a little tiny bit of overlap there where it overlaps and has a couple of lines. That can indicate a little tiny bit of stress on those internal organs, on that digestive system specifically. But we kind of seen that in that spine line. We believe that once you get that straightened up, you're going to find that this line actually cleans up pretty good.